Hello and welcome to another episode of They Don't Teach Us in Law School. I'm your host, Charlie, man of law firm Alchemy and Red Kraken Creative. And my guest today is someone who I first kind of got to know online. And because of the wonderful tools like Facebook and LinkedIn, I've gotten to see some of the stuff that he shares over time. And what I really love is when I see a fellow business owner, he's a law firm owner, who is out there sharing content that isn't the usual just hype machine content, or quite frankly, the other side, which is the usual look at me, how vulnerable I'm being, and instead feels like that wisdom that only comes through the middle that most people don't discover because they're busy being teenager absolutists. That's a whole other tangent I could go on, but he just had some wisdom that he shared that I always appreciated. And so I ended up commenting on a LinkedIn post, and we've corresponded back and forth, member of Catalyst, all kinds of good stuff. Like, let's just have him on the podcast. Let's have a good conversation. So I am super excited to have Florida attorney and law firm owner Rory Safir on the show. Rory, great to have you, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I've been listening to your podcast for a long time. I've been, obviously I'm a Catalyst member and new Red Kraken member. Yeah, excited to be here.
All right, Rory, you know the question because you listen to the show. What's the one thing they don't teach you in law school?
Yeah, so I gave this some thought. Rather than going with the cop out that law school didn't really teach me anything, which is the truth. I will give. I've got.
You still have that sarcastic response tucked away, huh?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know that there's anything I actually use. You could argue that it teaches you to think analytically, but that's kind of my natural state, which kind of ties into the thing that I don't think that they teach you is this German concept of Verstehen, which literally means I don't know it literally, but it means to understanding from within or really stepping into someone else's shoes. It's a concept I learned in a advanced philosophy class in undergrad. That's what I did.
Tell me more.
So it's not something I really learned. I mean, I guess technically I learned it in a classroom originally, but it's not something you really truly learn in a classroom, and it's not something that comes naturally to me. Again, I'm very introverted. I kind of had to learn my people skills through, blood, sweat, and tears. And so to do that, I kind of did everything, the way you're not supposed to do things. Like after I finished law school, so first of all, I did my third year. I did a master's in Madrid. And
oh, cool.
Instead of going straight into being a lawyer, kind of didn't want to be a lawyer after law school because it kind of burned it out of me, at least at the time. And so I went and traveled for like 3 or 4 years. And so I think, when you're an outsider, you either adapt kind of to see the world through other people's eyes, or you just get left out. So that was really tough for me because I'm introverted, and I just kind of had to learn, like, okay, I can sit over in the corner and be sad, or I can go make friends with people from different cultures with different thoughts on things.
Yeah, man.
So you kind of just learn how to put yourself in their shoes. And I think it's a concept that really, maybe for other people, it's like a life skill or just a normal thing. But for me, I had to learn it. This was like a novel concept for me. And it's something that I apply on my practice. I started off as a public defender. And so again, I had a decent upbringing. I mean, I wasn't exposed to a lot of people of indigent folks who are of lesser means. So, I represented folks who were Baker acted. So in Florida, Baker Act's someone who's involuntarily committed due to mental health issues. So there's some crazy stories with that. But people that I'm not normally around, represented a number of folks who are addicted to all kinds of every drug under the sun, and they've got maybe they've developed mental health issues because of it, or maybe they also had mental health issues. All kinds of. I've represented more white collar folks as well. So I've just kind of had to learn how to interact with all kinds of people. It's something I've done in my travels, and it's something I've carried into my practice as a criminal defense attorney. And I would also, that's a show about marketing. I mean, I think it applies pretty easily to that. Well, I don't know if it's about marketing, but it's a thing that you're good at. But I would say, you're when you're finding your avatar client, so to speak, you're literally you're putting yourself in their shoes. It's a life skill as far as just normal conversation with someone. It's just something you can apply everywhere. So yeah, that's what I didn't learn in law
You
school.
know, I really do find, so I count myself, even though most people think otherwise, I very much count myself among the introverts of the world and had to learn people skills. Even though I was a theater major and everything and enjoyed being on stage, a lot of theater people that I met were actually introverted. I would say there were probably a lot of people on both extreme ends. We had extreme extroverts and extreme introverts. And I find that very true of introverts who can find that skill, that ability to really see through other people. It does become an amplified superpower. And Rory, you mentioned it being like part of the marketing. That idea of identifying your ideal client and trying to speak to them for you as you started to develop that, because obviously past as public defender, law firm owner, where you can't do the work for free, right? There need to be paying clients. How did you adapt between those two different worlds and the being in someone else's shoes?
Well, first of all, I did not charge enough and tried to be a public defender because I still have that mentality where I want to save everyone. That does not work for a business, no matter how hard you try, though. But yeah, I mean, I've read a ton of marketing, and then it kind of came up, and you're thinking, I guess the other thing is you do enough of when you're wearing 14 different hats and you're
Yep.
actually able to talk to your clients over and over and over and over again. They tell you, what their pain points are. Like they literally will, you have the same conversation. Not, I don't want to say that. I don't want to minimize it, but you have similar conversations, or at least the pain points are similar
Yeah.
every time. So you kind of can diagnose it that way, I would say. And so, yeah, for me, I do mostly DUI defense. So they're always worried. Am I going to go to jail? Am I, what about my driver's license? A lot of times it's people who've never been charged with the crime. So, is this going to go on my permanent record? I'm assuming, if you or me got charged, or you or me, if you or I got charged with a crime, we have no, well, not me because I'm a criminal defense lawyer, but just anybody who's a white collar professional gets a crime. Those are the kind of people I'm usually dealing with.
Right. Right. The reason that we're even having this conversation is because you shared on LinkedIn, and you shared actually a couple of posts of this theme about the idea that when seeking advice from other people, and we're talking about this idea of context and being able to be in someone else's shoes, that when you seek advice, ask better questions. Ask questions that are, say, relevant to the stage of the journey that you are on today. I'm curious for yourself what you found out in the world of advice giving that brought you towards that more centralized point of view.
Yeah, I mean, if you just kind of, again, this is kind of how my brain works. If you look at it logically, I mean, yes, you've got folks like, Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, and they're doing a lot of things now that are just not going to help you at all. Like, they've got so much money and so many resources that they can do things that do not benefit a small business owner. But if you carry, if you go back far enough, you can find kind of general principles maybe that apply. But yeah, I mean, I think the other thing is it's just as far as like making money or something. A lot of when folks are originally making their money, they're doing different things than when you've got eight businesses. Say you're super successful, you've got eight businesses and you're investing and you're doing all that. That's a terrible idea. Not investing, but having more than one thing is a terrible idea when you're starting off. You need to just pick one thing and just go hard at that, put all your attention in that, make your money with that, or die trying. Well, don't die, but you could. Yeah.
ideally
Yeah.
ideally yeah, it's interesting. So we're recording this sort of hot on the heels of Alex Hormozy's big book launch, for example, $100 million money models. Phenomenal book launch, Guinness World Record. There's all sorts of think pieces that are being produced about it. And what I see is like these camps of people, either who are in the this is useless. You're not Alex Hormozy. Stop trying to pay attention to it. Or the people who think that, they're sort of these entrepreneurs who have these out of mom's closet businesses where they feel like if they just buy Alex Hormozy's product, now they're going to be the next person to set a Guinness World Record book launch. And what I don't see a lot of people doing, Rory, is going back to, because most people have a business that is closer to when Alex was in his origin story than where he is now, to say the least. And his origin story is such an important lesson in and of itself. The fighting through the difficulties, the having to get on the phone and make the sales himself. And it's interesting because Hormozy these days talks a lot about like just give away free value, give away free value, give away free value. And that's awesome, especially if you're a bigger business that has a money model that allows you to capitalize on that. But most businesses are still trying to figure out, how do I get to my first $1 million year? And to do that, you do have to sell, right? Founder-led sales is a real thing. For yourself, as you've gone through this journey of law firm ownership, are there any points similar to that or concepts that you've encountered that you've had to wrestle with and say like, okay, that principle's first thing. Like, I don't have Jeff Bezos resources. I don't have Alex Hormozy resources, but I see a route here that is beneficial to me.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's different schools of thought on him. I mean, I think he's great. The reason why is I don't pay attention to what society's doing. I mean, obviously, I've not cared about it my entire career, or at least in the the last 10 to 15 years. But I look at everybody, and listen to their opinions and what they have to say. And if I like it, I take it. If I don't, I don't, and just move on. And a lot of what he says resonates with me.
Absolutely.
So yeah, and I think probably a lot of his ideas kind of bleed into my own thoughts. But again, I don't look at it like that. I take bits and pieces from everyone. When I'm trying to learn to be a better trial lawyer, I'm studying all the best trial lawyers. I don't view it as copying, so to speak, or you just take what works for you. And with him, he's got a number of concepts that I've literally seen with my own eyes. Some of those ideas. One idea is like he's always talking about scaling the unscalable, and so that's like when you're and I was just kind of mentioning this before when I was originally talking. When you're on the phone, when you've got the time as a solo, when you're just starting off, you're able to get on the phone with all your clients and hear all their pain points. You can't do that later. I can't do that now. But I could, and I was able to. That's not scalable, but it's something that I could do when I was just starting off, and it's I guess it's an advantage that you have over the people with tons of wealth and who've already done the thing, I guess, so they don't need to do it again. But still, right. It's something that you have. You're sending out the handwritten notes. You're going out. Maybe you can, some of this stuff you can still continue doing, but you're getting lunches every day, or that kind of stuff that is more difficult to do the more busy you get down the road. I don't know if that kind of answers your question or not, but.
I'm a big fan that everything's somehow an answer to the question, right? Because however it gets interpreted. So right. I hear that and I think about, okay, you mentioned like lunches and all that. A lot of times with coaching clients, so let's say they're in the $300,000 to $700,000 per year range, right? And they're trying to cook up more referral business, which I'm a big advocate of, and I'm encouraging them, go have coffees and lunches, build those relationships. But once you're at, say, 1.5 million, maybe even 1.2, and certainly as you get to $2 million, there's this space in there where you don't have the time for the coffees and lunches because you're bringing in enough business that you have to fix your systems at that point in time. Yeah. However, there's a lot of people out in the world who are now running, say, a $5, $7, $10 million law firm, and they are focused on very key lunches and coffees. And you look at it and you go, oh, that's the journey that I want to be on. So I guess I need to just force in a bunch of coffees and lunches. It's like, no, you're on your systems point right now. You need to fix your systems. Yep. And then those systems will grow your firm. And then go have more coffees and lunches. That type of contextualized advice is so valuable and yet is often missing in certain spaces, because being able to speak through someone else's journey, most people can only speak about the journey that they're on. So beyond being an introvert, do you have any other experiences in your life that inform that grasp of standing in someone else's shoes?
Um, yeah, I mean, I can just give a specific example from my travels. And this is something that I this will always stick with me. So I spent some time, I guess, right after I finished my master's in Spain. I got a flight down to Latin America. I ended up living there for about a year and a half. A lot of that time was in Colombia. I just really liked the Colombian people, just
Really?
their culture. And here's an example of it. So I was living in Medellin, which uh, beautiful city, loved it. Maybe I'll live there sometime in the future. Who knows? But as far as uh, the story I'm going to tell, so there are tons of just as you can probably imagine, as in the aftermath of Pablo Escobar, they're a lot better now. But they're just and I was actually there during the Civil War. It's a different one, but they have some
Wow.
hard times. There are some really poor communities. It's kind of how it works is it's in a valley, and the further you go up the valley, the poorer the people are because they can't get into town to work basically because they're stuck up on they can't it's hard to get. There's gondolas and things, or I don't know what they call them. It doesn't matter. But um, I remember I was working at I was in a Spanish school, and part of that was we were working at a nonprofit. And the nonprofit idea was to we'd go play basketball with like little girls to kind of keep them away from some of the keep them occupied with that, to keep them away from the darker pursuits that they could go down.
Yeah.
And so that was great. And then I remember it was we would go to the neighborhood where they lived, and it was a really poor neighborhood. And I remember afterwards going to sit in a bar, and one of the fathers came up and sat next to me. And this guy literally lives in I mean, I don't want to, he lives in like a house made out of garbage. It's just really just not, much of a house. And he's probably got $1 to his name. And he came
Wow.
up to me with a big smile on his face, and he tried to buy me a beer. I'm like, bro, no, let me buy you a beer.
Wow.
And he just had the biggest smile on his face. And I'm like, wow, this guy is like, he has pennies to his name, and he is the happiest guy, I've ever seen. Maybe, I don't know, that's a little extreme, but in any case, I'm like thinking to myself, how could this guy who's got so little, be so happy about everything? And it's because, I mean, if you put yourself in his shoes, he's got everything he needs. I mean, he's got a roof, he's got his kids, he's got his family, and he just met a new stranger who was, playing basketball with his daughter. I mean, whatever. That's just always stuck with me. It's just the Colombian culture. I mean, I have other stories of it, or other examples of
Wow.
it rather, but that's one that's always really stood out to me. It's like, what are my problems in America? Like, this guy is just happy as can be, and it's just you just really forces you to put yourself in someone else's shoes and really kind of give some serious thought to various different things.
I'm going to ask you some questions about your law firm and its growth here in just a second, but I want to highlight something that you just did, Rory, which is when you were talking about this guy, and this to me really matches up with this standing in someone or walking a mile in someone else's shoes, or really being able to understand other people. Is, as you were saying in that story, you mentioned, oh, this is like the happiest guy I've ever, and then you paused and you recontextualized that as, okay, so maybe right, you equivocated on that appropriately, because you do actually understand, yes, this is probably an individual who is happier beyond how I can understand how to be happy in those circumstances.
Right.
But it would be an exaggeration to say he's the happiest person I've ever met, because he clearly deals with difficult circumstances, but he was joyful in that moment. That's the type of thing I want everyone to know, that when you are capable of doing that, that's when you are really getting into the walking a mile in someone else's shoes. That's how you can tell someone is serious about finding another person's story and can see the totality, not just the individual piece that they want to be correct. So I just want to pull that out of there, Rory, before we talk business, right? So you have a growing firm. like you said, you do a lot of DUI defense. I know that you're looking to continually expand. I'm curious right now, as we'll divide this into what you've done that has brought you here. And then I'm curious about what's on the horizon for you. So what are some of the things that you've done with your firm leading up to this point that have been really smart choices for growth?
Well, let me start off and say that I had a very expensive education. And what I mean by that is I spent lots of money on things that did not work. And so rather
There you
than
go.
viewing it as wasted money, I view it as an expensive education, which now when I get lunches with new law firm owners, I'm like, don't do that, or at least that was my experience. But yeah, as far as what's really worked for me, a few things. I would say one of the smartest things I did is, this is just a basic business concept that maybe not for some folks and it wasn't for me at a time, but is just niching down. So originally, if you look at my firm name, it's called Safir Injury and Criminal Defense Law. I didn't really know what I was doing, and I heard that you had to have the practice area in the title so that it would show up on Google Maps. As someone, anyways, that's a different tangent. But I kind of brought that down. Okay, well, I don't really want to be doing personal injury cases where I'm getting like the bottom barrel cases that aren't going to settle in 18 months and we're going to have a liability issue and I don't even know if I'm going to get any money on it, versus I'm getting criminal defense cases and these people are paying me right away. So I'm like, okay, that seems like a smarter thing to pursue if I want to survive at this. And then the more I thought about it, I'm like, okay, well, now I'm kind of having trouble competing with some of these, 30 years board certified. A lot of times lawyers
Right.
you just have a natural advantage by having white hair, so to speak, or it's true that people just, I'm younger. So I thought, and this is something I want to give some shout out to Marco Brown, because he's always posted about, I do divorce, and that's the only thing I do, and I do it really well, and I'm the best at it because, literally that's all you do. So I thought, okay, well, let me apply that to myself. What's something I could, what are most of my cases right now? And they happen to be DUIs, and I kind of enjoyed the science of it. So I'm like, all right, well, let me just focus on that, and we'll niche down to DUIs. And then I went and did every CLE that you could possibly do for DUI. I've done every single class. I'm in every DUI group. I go to every DUI thing you can go to. So when I talk to someone on the phone, maybe I don't have 30 years of experience, but I only do DUIs, and I go to every advanced course and I learn from all the people who have been doing it for 30 years. And so that's one thing I would say niching down has been super valuable. Two, and this is, you mentioned that you met me on LinkedIn, but that's where I met my paralegal as well, also my office manager. I got so lucky, and I just I would say the concept I'm getting at is to hire before you're ready. I did, she's I got to pay her a little more than probably what someone else at my stage may have paid a paralegal, but it's been so worth it. I literally transformed my firm, probably doubled or tripled my revenue eventually. And I was not even sure how I was going to be able to pay her. It's worked out because she's made the firm money. So, within reason, you got to be smart, but I don't know that I was. So, and it worked out. So I would say hire before you're ready. That's something I hear from other people, but I've seen it myself. And then the other thing, take advice from people who've already done the thing that you want to do. And so with that, I joined, I was apprehensive about this at first because of the price tag. It's not that much, but it was for me at the time. It was Jay Rowane's Criminal Mastermind. What better thing could you do than go sit in a room and be the lowest man on the totem pole, and you're sitting with a bunch of, entrepreneurs or law firm owners who've 7 and 8 figure firms. And again, you got to, like we were saying, temper the advice, and, you're doing different things than they might be doing. But that's been that has greatly sped up the trajectory. It got me into systems and all this other stuff that you need to be, that would have would have figured out eventually. But it sped it up, and that's, led me to joining Catalyst, for example. Same thing. Shill for you for a second, what better thing could you do than go learn from someone who literally is around hundreds, I don't know what hundreds, or I don't know how many law firms you've been around, but you've got all the data. You've literally worked with so many different people that you know what works. You can talk about what's at 1.2 to 1.5. I mean, that's just not something that I would learn myself without doing it. And I'm not, you're at different stages, but it's something that you uniquely know because your job basically. But yeah, so I'll leave there. There's three things I would say. There's more, but those are probably three big things.
No, I love that. And Jay Ruane, awesome guy to learn from. It's sort of like if I encounter someone who's a criminal defense attorney, if they're a member of Catalyst, I'm like, you should also be part of Jay Ruane's criminal mastermind. Yes. If there's someone who's an estate planner who's a member of Catalyst, I'm like, you should also be a member of Andrew Zimmer's Vertex League, right? There's people out there to match up with. I'm in multiple groups myself. It's a big value in life. Now, as you're looking ahead towards the next stages of the journey, what things are you starting to think about or ideas that you're wrestling with right now?
Right now, so I am past the survival phase. I'm kind of in the, actually, well, I wrote a post about this. It's coming, I don't know when I scheduled it for, but it's about being in like the messy kind of middle. I'm at about 2.5 years out. I'm maybe a little bit beyond treading water, but I'm still at a point where, I'm not worried about keeping the lights on, but I do want to scale. And I still, I've kind of looked at it. I still think I have a marketing not issue, but it needs to be, I want to move away from paying Google so much money for a number of reasons. One, who knows what's happening with AI and what's going to happen to Google or whether they're just going to keep raising their rates for ads. And yeah, also I don't want to pay them money, but so I've just been, I think I need, just more clients so that I can scale is kind of what I'm dealing with right now. So I've been really kind of working on my, social media right now.
So is that for you like a focal point?
Yeah, right now it's what I've been, it's my latest obsession, I guess. I don't know. I think that's another thing is just pick one or two things. And, before that it was my newsletters. And a lot of this, another shout out for Catalyst is and I don't want to spoil your systems too much, but I'll just say some of the things that you've taught, I've done. And one of, those email newsletter, print newsletter, that was something that I recently got my print newsletter going. I've had my email newsletter going. And now I'm kind of back. And I started off doing social media when I had no clients. That was something I did. And I did get a few clients. And so now I'm going back to it. And then another guy I want to shout out is Jeff Hampton. He came and spoke to us at the Criminal Mastermind, and he criminal defense attorney. He's gone and spoke I'm sure people have heard of him if they're in this sphere, but gets 50 or 60 calls a month on YouTube. So that's another thing. I'm going to be working with Piper Creative to get my YouTube going. So
nice.
I know
Good
they're
choice.
a friend of the law firm Alchemy. Yeah.
Yes. Aaron Watson's a good guy. Great company.
I just was ranting there. I don't really know it doesn't matter, but yeah, I'll leave it there.
That's what this show is. It's a series of conversations. And it's actually funny. There are some people who come on the show who seem to have like a very definitive agenda. Like, you are going to collide with me because I just want to ask questions. I just want to hear a person's opinion. Like, I just want to talk with people who I genuinely want to talk with. There's some people who come on, they're very agenda driven, and I appreciate. I have a client. I actually have two clients I can think of right off the top of my head who, whenever I talk with them on the phone, they'll talk for like 10 minutes and go, "I'm so sorry that I've been talking this whole time." I'm like, no, but you needed to say those things. That was part of the purpose of all of this, because if someone only gives the 1 or 2 word answer, we're missing the thing that I think is valuable and that we've kind of talked around and through in this conversation, which is the value of context. Context is so important. You want to understand a person. You need to know, like, I just learned that Rory lived in Colombia, right? And that he would not just lived in Colombia, but he's interested in the idea of going back there. Like, that says so much more about the individual. Sorry, now I'm just off on a tangent because I find tangents interesting in how they inform us about individuals. Okay, so you're you're looking to invest more in social media. Is there some type of marketing strategy out there that is your, when I have the resources in place, I would love to do X, Y, or Z, that you're really looking forward to investing in?
Yeah, I don't know that I would make this investment, but it was something that I strongly considered and wish I could have afforded. And that is, so I went to the Ben and Brian Glass's Great Legal Marketing Summit last, whatever it was, October. And I met this, they had this group, Authority Brand, that spoke. And this was, they're all in the law firm game now. But when I originally spoke to them, they were not, they were doing, I don't remember what they were doing, but they're big Russell Brunson guys and Dan Kennedy guys. And I remember I talked to them they were super nice guys. I talked to them for about 3 or 4 hours after the conference, and the most brilliant guys. They gave me all this great advice. I bought all Russell Brunson's books. Expert Secrets, great read if you had to pick one of the three. Yeah, I wish I could afford them and have. I mean, so what I've done instead is I've just kind of looked at some of the profiles that they manage and just kind of copied that. And maybe I'm not quite as refined, but I don't know that necessarily matters for lawyers. But I think by having a JD or bar license, I get some certain level of credibility. So I think almost some of my sloppier videos, not sloppy, but just less edited videos, because I don't know how to edit, are I use Descript.
That's a superpower, by the way. That's a superpower. Yeah. People don't know it.
Yeah, I think that works for lawyers. I don't know that it works. I mean, maybe for other professionals too. I'm sure doctors could get away with that kind of thing, or if they're doing social media, probably. But yeah,
there's actually been one of the most significant waves in YouTube creation, and one of the biggest changes that has happened is obviously we had the Mr. Beastification of YouTube for several years, but over the last 2.5 years, you've seen a move back to less edited, more quote unquote authentic video, where it is, say, a direct camera address. Part of it is also the wave of podcasts showing up in video format, making YouTube increasingly a space where it's okay to do a passive consumption model of even highly informative and valuable videos. So people don't always just need it for the entertainment. They are combining it with information increasingly on YouTube. So yeah, do those on edited videos.
Yeah, no, it's the last concept from them is, I was just doing educational videos, but their whole thing is you need to, that used to work, but now there's, you also want to be kind of showing, I forget there are 3 pillars, but they've got social proof, education, and you're telling about your results or your personal stories with clients too. So just different kinds of videos than I had been doing. And then, same thing. I can't afford Jeff Hampton, but he did come speak, so I'm trying to do my best. I'd love to be able to afford these, to pay these guys. And if you can, you should. And if I can someday, I probably will. I'll get there.
Yeah, it's an accelerator on something that you can do. What the nice part is, and having been someone who's seen the inside of a lot of these things, obviously now having the email agency where working with someone like you, what you've actually demonstrated with email, Rory, is you're already putting the things in place. So when you do have a vendor come in and take over, because you've observed a level of best practices or observed a maturation of that space, there is a starting point for someone to accelerate from rather than just a ground up process. So if you're putting out videos and developing that somewhat, we'll call it a following, it may not be particularly substantial, but you are in rhythm. You've shown that, hey, you've gotten the jitters out of being on camera. It means when you start working with a company like that, and because, geez, I hope everyone heard it, Rory, where you said, I went and looked at profiles of the people that they've worked on, and I, studied that material as well. It's like if you're going to be on LinkedIn, you study the people who are doing LinkedIn really well and what are the common clues there. Okay. Yeah. So that way, if someone were to come in and, take over your LinkedIn profile, take over your YouTube channel, or at least be the assistant helping, drive it behind the scenes, there's a solid foundation to be on rather than just, a bunch of spaghetti thrown at the wall on a platform, which might force someone to say, we're basically pressing restart on what you're doing. We have to develop a whole new channel. So I just want to highlight that bit right there.
I appreciate that. Yeah. I mean, I think, again, there are so many, and I think I've kind of now that I'm a little bit further out, I get it as far as wanting to teach, or not teach, but at least just tell people who are just getting started what's worked for me, and kind of try to help them, uh, you know, see where, maybe I didn't have someone to tell me certain things. But yeah, I get that when you're,
Yeah.
some of these older, not older, but more experienced law firm owners are so happy to share their wisdom. Same with marketers. So, and I think I've always been kind of good at just seeing who I should listen to and who I don't need to listen to, or at least for me. And yeah, and like going back to what I was saying about Alex Hormozy. Okay, yeah, maybe some people think he's a charlatan or he's a grifter or whatever. I don't really care about any of that. I just care about the information, and it's been good information for me.
And if people think that he's a charlatan and a grifter, okay, sure, have that opinion. That's fine.
Sure.
You can enjoy that little space of the internet.
Yep, you're missing out. I think it's some form of projection, but I don't care. I don't know the guy. I don't know. I just know the content he puts out. Don't care.
He's phenomenal.
What he's does. The intention behind it. Well, I do, but I don't need to know.
Yeah. You should. People study Alex Hormozy. Study these people who are doing big, incredible things, putting a dent in the universe. Your dent may not seem to be as big, but it's still important. And if you can grasp a couple of ideas, you don't have to do the 100% version of these folks. Start with your 1% version. Be intentional about it. And then you will have your own version of 100% at some point. And it doesn't have to be what a Hormozy does. It doesn't have to be on this massive scale. It can be local and still have the equivalent level of like you've done good in the world. At least that's where I come from.
Yeah, and that kind of led me into, I totally agree. Another thing that since I'm, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs will relate with this, we're always thinking about the next mountain that we need to climb. You climb the one mountain, then you're on to the next. You're just moving the goalposts is the expression I think they use. But you got to enjoy like right now, or I remember back to my first year where I had trying to figure everything out. That was, I look back on it kind of fondly, and I'm sure I always will, even though I think I made 30 grand my first year and went way into debt. But I've taken, again, I said my expensive education, so to speak. And now I'm kind of, I'm in this messy middle. You got to enjoy it. Every stage of the journey. I mean, and yeah, I mean, there's really no, I'm a philosophy major, obviously. There's really I'm not like a nihilist or anything, but life is what you make it. So if I can help I've helped a lot of people in the criminal defense field in my community. That matters to me. I'm in my own little bubble, and that's only, everybody's kind of thinking about their own little bubble. But yeah, just kind of it's okay to be on a smaller scale. I mean, who says what even is a smaller scale? I don't know. It doesn't
exactly.
Yeah. So even though I'm here, I've got a roof over, like the Colombian guy. I've got a roof over my head. I've got autonomy, which is priceless. I've got problems now, but they're different problems that I had than when I worked for a law firm, and I prefer these problems. So
there we go.
Yeah.
Amen to that. All right. So Rory, if people want to connect with you, watch your journey through the messy middle, etc., how should they connect with you?
Yeah. So I would say probably if you want to learn about criminal defense stuff, you can go on my more general social media, but I think probably most of your listeners would be more interested in some of my more like entrepreneurial, philosophical kind of content. And that's LinkedIn. And then also my email and now print newsletter would be best places.
Awesome. Sweet. All right, Rory, final 3-part question for you. What are you reading, watching, and listening to these days?
Well, I got money modeled by the grifter, so I'm reading through all of Alex Hormozy's playlists right now. Let's see. Watching, gosh, I don't know if I should. I don't know if I admit this or not. I'm a bit of a weeb and anime person, so I'm watching Hunter x Hunter.
Awesome.
Let's see. And what was the last one?
Listening to.
Listening. law firm Alchemy. I mean, I listen to a lot of podcasts. I drive. I'm a criminal defense lawyer, so we're in different counties.
Yep.
I'm always driving. I'm listening to business or marketing podcasts. So yours, I guess we'll shout out a few people. I like Brian Glass's. I like Jay Ruane and Seth Price's law firm Blueprint.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. Ben's Renegade. I forget how he calls it, but his is good. I should. I like Chris Early's. He gets a lot of big names on there.
Yeah. It's a cool community. Like it is remarkable how many many shows there are for entrepreneurial lawyers.
Yeah. Oh, and again, just go back. I mean, I sound like I'm a salesman, but I like Alex Hormozzi's podcast as well. He for anyone who doesn't have any of his books, he put all the audiobooks on there for free.
Yep. They're a great listen. Like it's an enjoyable listen, genuinely.
Yeah. For sure.
It's very cool. Well, Rory, thank you so much for coming on the show, for your insight, your experience, for just your honesty, sharing stories, being willing to go on the tangents and all of it. I so appreciate it.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you having me on here. That's kind of just, I'm kind of like that normally. So, I appreciate you being good at asking questions and kind of getting the conversation going somewhere and not off the rails.
And even if it does, I personally believe there's like 25% of the audience that is just listening for the fact that it feels like maybe a conversation that you could pull up a bar stool at maybe one of these lawyer success events, and they'd be listening in on that, where it's part success, it's part life. There's something to hang on to the whole time. So thank you so much, Rory.
I appreciate it.
We'll see you all in the next step. Absolutely. And we will see you all in the next episode of They Don't Teach This in Law School.